guys. Well, you did a great job this last week reviewing, and we're all finished with force, motion, and energy, but that doesn't mean that it's going away. We're going to incorporate it all throughout the school year because physics is how things work. Now we're moving on to what things look like, how they behave, and how they're structured. So the title of this next video is What About It Matters? Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. I use the word it. What exactly is it? Well, that's what we're going to be looking at today. So the first thing, let's talk about matter. Matter is anything that has mass or takes up space, and we call that volume. So matter has mass and takes up space. So here are some examples. Water, your desk, the birds, air, Diet Coke, your lunch, your body. You are an example of matter. Now I've got some non-examples for you. Your radio, sound waves, sunlight, magnetism, your television. Those are non-examples. These things do not have mass and do not take up space. But we will talk about them later on after this next unit. Now matter exists in 3 separate states. You'll talk about a 4th one when you get to high school chemistry, but for now, you just need to know that it exists in solid, liquid, and gas, depending on the arrangement of the particles. Alright, so when I'm looking at matter, I like to classify it, or make observations, quantitative and qualitative. And that's where I get something called physical properties. What you're seeing is a thinking map. This is called a bubble map, and each one of these is an example of a physical property. I can physically look at a piece of matter. I can tell its shape, I can tell its size, the smell, how it feels or its texture, the color, the freezing point, the boiling point, the melting point, and hardness. Those are all examples of physical properties. I can either quantify them, give them a number, and physically measure them, or I can use them to describe matter. So it's kind of like the identity of matter. One example of a physical property is something called density, and it's basically the relationship between matter's mass and volume. You'll see another triangle, so we're dealing with mathematical computations and relationships. The density of a substance is equal to its mass divided by its volume. So then what you see is solids, liquids, and gases. And an unknown. I've given you information about the mass, how you would find it, what exactly the unit of measure would be, and then how to find the volume. So for a regular solid, like a box, I could measure that on a triple beam balance, and then I would measure the volume just like I would measure the volume of a cube, length times width times height. So I end up getting a unit of measure, grams per centimeter cubed. That would give me my density. Liquid, I've got the mass, I have to find the liquid mass, and I have to find the container added together. Then with the volume, I simply look for a graduated cylinder. So I measure using milliliters. It's grams per milliliter. The unknown, I simply find the mass divided by volume and compare to known matter. So again, I'm going to be looking for my units of measure. Now, with density, if I have a density equal to 1, then that means that it's going to be suspended in water. Water's density is 1. If it's greater than 1, then the object or the liquid will sink. If it's less than 1, then the object or liquid will float. So you take a look at a glass with a drink and you have some ice. Where do you find the ice? You find it up top. That's because the density of ice is less than 1. So the mass divided by the volume is less than 1. We're going to work a lot on that this week. The 4th and final board that you'll see here are some chemical properties. So this goes on the inside of matter, and we'll deal more with these later on. These are things how matter behaves. I can't physically observe this, but I can see how it interacts and reacts with other matter. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap.